Good morning. This is a meeting of the Groton Board of Education. It's a regular meeting being held on Monday, July 27th, 2026 at 6 p.m., well, 6:04 at the central office. In attendance in person for board members, we have Sean Cochran, Jen White, myself, Bev Washington, Adrian Johnson, and Ian Thomas. And then we have our distinguished staff members. We have Dr. Anne-Marie Mancini sitting in for the superintendent this evening. We have Shannon Weigel. We have Denise Doolittle and Jennifer. I apologize, I don't know your names.
Ariel.
Okay. And then we have Sam Kilpatrick. Okay, and the first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. Everybody stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I forgot to mention who's online tonight, and it's Jay Whitloff is online, and so is Dr. Ackerman. And Mitch is walking in right now at 6:05. Mitch is walking in.
Yes, sir.
And Mike will be a little late, and I think that's it. Okay. We have no recognition and participation of visitors or delegations. So the next item on the agenda is comments from citizens in regard to agenda items and other subjects of concern that lie within the jurisdiction of the Board of Education. This is the portion of the agenda where the board welcomes comments from citizens. Each presentation should be limited to 5 minutes or less, and citizens should, if possible, submit written comments. Presentations should be related to matters pertinent to Groton. Board members will only ask questions in order to clarify the speaker's presentation and cannot respond during the comments of citizen portion of the board meeting. Citizens should make their presentation from the podium and state their name and addresses for the record. And tonight we have 2 speakers. We have Marcy, and I don't know your last name.
Seaflight.
Okay.
So Marcy Seaflight, 127 Briar Hill Road.
Can you say your name again?
Marcy Seaflight.
Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to come here tonight to read. I sent this email to the board members and Mrs. Austin and got no response from anyone, so I just wanted to read it. So I'm going to just read what I wrote. I'm writing to express my deep disappointment with the special ed department at Groton Public Schools regarding the services and support provided to our child. Our child attended Charles Barnum Elementary, where we had an excellent experience. The teachers, administrators were supporting, caring, and committed to helping him succeed. Because of the positive experience, we entered middle school with high hopes. Unfortunately, our experience changed dramatically once he transitioned to the middle school level. For years, we repeatedly requested conversations about our child's disabilities and the supports he needed. Time and time again, we were denied assessments, accommodation, and meaningful discussions regarding his struggles. We found ourselves fighting every step of the way just to have our concerns heard. When it was time for high school, we chose the Marine Science Magna High School because we believed a smaller environment would support his needs. Early on, the staff recognized that our child required additional support, and for the first time, we felt hopeful that someone understood our concerns. However, despite our conversations, we were continued to face resistance from our homeschool Groton. We attended numerous meetings and years advocating before he would finally qualify for special education services in 10th grade, far later than we knew he needed support. During our child's senior year, Groton Public Schools finally agreed to fund an independent evaluation. The evaluation resulted in recommendations that included consideration for outplacement. As As a senior preparing for graduation, that recommendation was not practical for him or our family. Instead, we were told that the transition program could be developed for him to build skills that he would need in adulthood and for future success. As graduation approached, however, it felt though the district's primary goal was to simply move him through the system. During our final meeting, I specifically asked for supports that could be provided as he prepared to attend college. I was told there was nothing more that could be done, and through my own research and understanding of special education services, I know that statement was not entirely accurate. There could have been options that were explored, discussed, or considered. What is most troubling is not simply the services were denied, but that meaningful communication, collaboration were often lacking. Rather than open discussions and available options helping us make informed decisions, it felt that the opportunities were withheld until graduation. As a result, he is now entering adulthood without access to many of the supports he should have received years ago. As an educator myself, I understand the challenges school districts face, including budgets and competing priorities. However, to a parent, this is not a budget or paperwork. It is about a child. I have spent years advocating for my son and fighting for services that should have been considered much earlier. If navigating this process is difficult for someone with an educational background, I can only imagine how overwhelming it must be to families who do not have the knowledge or experience. I believe the Board of Education should be aware of the experience my family encountered with special education department. I hope by sharing my story, future students and families receive the support communication they deserve without having to fight every step of the way. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Can I have that?
I emailed it. I have my own notes on it.
Okay. You emailed it to the board members?
Yes.
Okay. When did you email? Because I don't remember seeing
June
it.
23rd.
June 23rd. Can you do me a favor? Can you send that email again? I don't remember seeing that.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Next is Liz Baumgartner.
So good evening, members of the Board of Education and members of the Groton Public Schools community. My name is Liz Baumgartner. I live at 584 Unit F. Shinnecosta Road in Groton. And tonight I'm here, not as an educator, as I often present as a principal in my own school district meetings. However, I'm here speaking with you tonight as a grateful mother. I want to take a moment to sincerely thank Groton Public Schools for the partnership our family has experienced over the years in supporting my son Benjamin, who has profound autism. Although Benjamin's needs required an outplacement, he has always remained a Groton student. Throughout his educational journey, Groton worked collaboratively with our family to ensure he received the specialized service and supports he needed to learn, grow, and thrive. And my son is profoundly autistic. This is like the 5% of students who require a lot of support. He's a 2-on-1 in my own home, as he just graduated recently. Benjamin attended programs through Learn, our local RESC, before eventually transitioning to River Street School in Windsor. Every placement was made thoughtfully and with one goal in mind, to provide him with the best opportunity to reach his fullest potential. I would especially like to recognize Denise Doolittle, Director of Pupil Services, for her unwavering dedication and partnership with our family. I also want to thank the many special education teachers, related service providers, paraprofessionals, administrators, and support staff who worked with Benjamin during his early years in Groton. They built a foundation that allowed him to continue growing throughout his school career. Their patience, expertise, compassion, and belief in him made an immeasurable difference in his life and in ours. Last month, on June 24th, Benjamin graduated from River Street School and at 22 years old officially aged out of Connecticut's public educational system. While graduation is a milestone we are incredibly proud of, it also marks the beginning of a new chapter, one where the needs do not end simply because school does. Families of individuals with profound disabilities continue to navigate significant challenges as we transition into adult services, searching for meaningful opportunities, appropriate supports, and safe, sustainable futures for our loved ones. Tonight, I simply want to say thank you. Thank you for investing in children with complex needs. Thank you for recognizing that every student deserves an education that meets them where they are. And thank you for being partners with families like ours throughout this journey. I recognize that sometimes those journeys are different for individuals, but my experience here, and it has not always been easy, Denise and I have worked throughout the years. We've had meetings where it was hard for myself as a parent. I'm advocating for my child. But I think the partnership was important, and the respect that was shown to my family was great. Benjamin's success belongs to many people, and Groton Public Schools will always be an important part of the story. Thank you for everything you have done for our family and for so many others. Every decision you make as a board member, administrator, or school educational staff has an impact on students and on the family that loves and supports them. I appreciate the opportunity given to me tonight to express my gratitude. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for coming back again, because you came to the meeting the end of June, and we didn't have a quorum, so thank you for coming back again.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Did you want this clip?
Yes.
I didn't email it, so if you need me to, I can. There you go. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Now it's time for response to comments from citizens. Any response?
I don't know if it's on my hand up there.
No, go ahead.
I wanted to say that I did not get the name of the last parent who spoke, but I did not get that email either. So I just wanted, if you get it, would you send it to me?
Oh, yeah, I'll send it to all board members when I get it.
Very well. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Dean?
I just want to thank the speakers, both Liz and Marcy, for coming out to speak tonight. And I think we heard two different things, two different reflections on the department. So that is worthy of note. And I think we should definitely look into this. The concerns more, but also, highlight the positives that we heard about tonight too. And I think that we're moving in the right direction as far as having a special education committee that was formed, and I look forward to seeing that develop in a more rigorous fashion so we can continue to build on the positives and address the negatives. Thank you. Oh, and also I found the email sent on the 23rd. I just forwarded it to the whole board.
Okay, I would do it.
Very good.
Any other comments? Okay. Adrian?
I'm just going to kind of echo what Thomas said there, and thank you for coming out and speaking about your successes. And it sounds like you have a great district, and the experience was great with our district, and I appreciate you telling us that. It's great to hear the positives. I also have a little bit of concern with Marcy's kind of statement, so maybe that's something that we can kind of revisit with the educational committee.
Okay. I'll have the superintendent look into it. That's the process that we should have. The superintendent will look into it. I direct her comments to the superintendent. Anyone else? Okay. And I have to say thank you to both speakers. And we have Mike Whitney. He's online. He came on about 6:05, I think. So Mike is here also. Okay, the next item on the agenda is student rep, because they're not here, it's summertime. And then superintendent and administration reports. And tonight we're going to have a presentation from Denise and Jennifer about restorative practice. So if you want to start. That's attachment 1 in your packet.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Washington. This evening, I'd like to introduce Jennifer Theriault. Jennifer is our district-wide social and emotional learning coordinator. She is also, she's actually the person that creates those wonderful SEL newsletters that Susan puts in her weekly updates to you once per quarter. Jen does a fabulous job with her SEL newsletters. They really should be published professionally. But Jen is also a school social worker. She has been an early childhood social worker at Mystic River and Thames River. This new school year, she will be at the Mary Morrison Early Childhood Center as a .6 social worker and a .4 teacher leader. So Jen has partnered with me ever since the new school climate guidance came out from the State Department of Education in April of 2025. So she's continued to partner with me to design the rollout of our restorative practices initiative to the district. So tonight we're going to present together. We only have 9 slides, so if you have questions, we're happy to answer them at the end of the presentation. So we're going to get started. So I'm going to start, and then Jen's going to take over. Okay, why isn't this working? I think I might have shared the wrong. Let's see, let me try again. Sorry about that. I'm not able to advance it. Any idea why, Jen? It's odd. It's not advancing.
Hit screen share again. Sometimes there's an option box that pops up. Click all those.
Click all of them?
Yeah.
Okay. And then click the presentation.
Yeah, try it again. It might give you more operational
Okay.
capacity. Yeah. It works with videos. As we go.
Oh, there it goes. Okay, I think we're in.
Thanks.
All right, so we wanted to start by just sharing with you that our Restorative Practices Initiative is aligned to the district's strategic plan. Restorative practices is intended to increase the amount of time students are learning and decrease the amount of classroom disruption due to challenging behavior. And at its heart, it's designed to cultivate a rich and vibrant learning community. It is part of the state's initiative to overall improve school climate. So we wanted to introduce you first to the policy, which you have for a first reading this evening. So part of the school climate initiative in the state is that each Board of Ed shall adopt a restorative practices response policy. This is to be implemented by school employees primarily for incidences of challenging behavior or student conflict. And the important component with restorative practices is that it's applicable to student conduct or conflict that is nonviolent. So it does not take away the school's right to involve law enforcement or a school resource officer, but it really limits that role to behavior that is violent or may include a criminal activity. So it kind of, it limits the role of the school resource officer. You may ask why? Why does this matter? Why are we embarking on this initiative? Well, the State Department of Education has shared some data that supports the importance of restorative practices. And the first one is exclusionary discipline, which is suspensions, expulsions. It's linked to missed instructional time. Students aren't in the classroom. It's linked to higher levels of student disengagement and higher risk of future misbehavior, including dropout. It also is linked to developing positive relationships and a sense of belonging. We want students to become more engaged in school. We want to be able to address their mental health, and we want to do that without enforcing punitive measures. We want to link the amount of exclusion that students experience, because exclusion from school increases students' depression, it lowers their self-confidence, and it actually puts them at higher risk for future conduct issues in school. A recent statewide analysis of 119,000 Connecticut youth ages 4 and 16 indicated about 1 in 5 are at risk of being disconnected from school or work. So that really points to the fact that we need to look at how we're disciplining students and come up with a different approach. And then lastly, students or youth in Connecticut that are disconnected from school are more likely to experience run-ins with the law, experience unstable housing, and face limited lifetime earnings. Because without a high school diploma or any kind of job training, their earning ability is severely limited. So it's really important that we continue to focus on how we can engage our youth and build community within our school setting. And Jen is going to talk about what that looks like.
Okay. So there are different areas of restorative practices. I want to just highlight a few of the things that I think are the most important. Building relationships, I feel like if you were to ask like one thing that this is, it's building relationships as a proactive strategy to build the belonging, which will hopefully combat all the negative things we just talked about. But this does not mean that we are not holding kids accountable. So there is a part of restorative practices about accountability for challenging behaviors that occur at school. And then really assuring that all students, both a student with challenging behavior and anyone that may be affected, are involved in restoring those relationships. In a recent meeting, someone said, if you don't have anything to restore back to, it makes it really difficult. And so the importance of restorative practices is really on building the proactive piece in the beginning. This is some of the similar things, but I want to highlight something that we've been really focusing on is the competency development. This falls under the climate policy, and part of that is really about skill building. Both Tier 1, making sure that all students are getting skill building opportunities in school, but for those students who are struggling, really increasing their ability to have opportunities to adjust their mistakes, to build the skills that they need to have it not happen again. And then really look at those, what are those factors contributing to it. So it's a piece that really not to be left out when we're talking about discipline is that we want to make sure that we are providing SEL teaching as well. For this piece, the purpose is really to support the discipline in schools. Like that previous slide was discussing, discipline can lead to out of school time or out of the classroom time, and the focus of this is really to be able to increase the amount of time students are spending in school so that they can be part of the school community. So really looking at how do we prevent this in the beginning. 80% should be proactive, 20% is going to be the response, but we really want to focus on what can we do to build up these safe, welcoming environments so students want to be at school and to be engaged in their learning communities. We want to look at making sure that it's consistent across all of the different schools and settings, that we have a coherence to what our policy is, to what our framework is going to look like, that we're communicating to students what the expectations for their behaviors are in a really clear manner, depending on what age they're at. It may look different, but there are going to be, these are the things we expect in our classrooms. We also want to make sure that staff are given an understanding of what their part plays in that. The students are not the only ones that play a part. The staff are part of the teaching of the different skills that the students may need. And then that we're really balancing the needs of the students who are struggling and the students who maybe have some disruption in their classroom, and that we're really looking at both sides to make sure that everybody's getting the education that they need. And then, which part did I forget? Oh, the equity of protected groups. We want to make sure that when we're looking at our discipline practices, we are looking through a lens where we're making sure that no group is getting a different discipline than another, and that we're having equitable rollout for all different groups. I will not read all of these boxes, but I'm going to highlight some of them. Some of it is a little repetitive, that the general principles are really about prevention, prevention, prevention. What can we do to build our communities and have a sense of belonging so that students want to have better behavior at school and stay part of their communities? When they do this, we know that restorative practices show that you have higher school safety, but you also have more academic learning when everybody can be in the classroom and participating. Maximizing that time spent learning, minimizing out of the classroom, really trying to lessen those out-of-school suspensions or expulsions, anything that students are not getting what they need when that occurs. And then back to the meaningful instruction and guidance. We want to make sure into our policy we are really looking at making sure we're providing students with what they need, whether it be social, emotional, or maybe they do need something like more mental health related, and that we're making those referrals. Restorative practices is going to include all members of the school community. We're really looking at a lot of these behaviors are going to be addressed in the classrooms, and so looking at this policy, it's really something that's going to be school climate focused. It's not a one-off. It's the whole school really looking at how we're all part of this. Really looking at the barriers, what is getting in the way of students' success if they are struggling, and trying to dig a little deeper and figuring out what we can do, how we build those relationships to get them back into engagement. And then looking at, this involves both classrooms, this involves extracurricular activities, school buses, it's not just one location. Oh, and this is part of the climate policy that we adopted last year. Every school has created a plan based on these 5 standards. These are the Connecticut climate standards that we must meet in our plans. And restorative practices are part of them. So we've already in the past year kind of created how we're going to do this, and then we're looking to the next year to kind of fine tune it. So some of this is exactly the same thing that's on the other slides, but I want to designate that sometimes we are looking at policies, sometimes we are looking at practices. And so having both things in place is important to be able to have the restorative infrastructure that we need. And then just highlighted sense of belonging. I mean, all of the things I think we've talked about is students who might not have that sense of belonging, and looking at how we're going to build it with this new policy. I think we already have been working on this. I think it just wasn't as formal, but I think all of the schools in all of the areas that they're working on have really been trying to increase getting students to be in school and feel like they're part of their communities. That's the last thing.
That was actually going to be my question. Every time I hear this kind of presentation, I always wonder, what have we been doing? Haven't we been trying to do those things?
Well, a big part, as Jen said, a big part of restorative practices is proactive. So there's a strategy called circles, and it's very similar to the morning meeting that we had where we were using responsive classroom. Thank you, Jen. So it's something that we're going to introduce to the middle school and the high school this school year. We're actually starting in August, where there's some low-risk questions that we pose that students will be asked to respond to in a circle format to start to get to build community in classrooms and help teachers get to know students on a different level. So this is something that happens in our elementary classrooms, but not so much in our middle high school classrooms. So circles is a big strategy in restorative practices for building community. And as Jen said, if you don't have anything to repair, then that's a problem. So we want to start with helping teachers build connections with students, helping students build connections with each other. And we are going to start in August in terms of the implementation district-wide. We did a lot of groundwork and preparatory work last year, and this year is year 2, and we're looking at really what's going to happen at each school in terms of implementation. So we're really excited for this coming year.
Mitch.
Could you go a little more in depth? We started talking about circles and exactly maybe set some kind of, or walk through some kind of a scenario that gets into this.
Sure. So a circle is when you come together as a community, and there's a facilitator of the circle, and it starts with kind of a low-risk question like, where did your name come from? How did your parents come up with your name? Or what special meaning does your name have? So people, go around the circle. They take turns. You can go around the circle or you can do random. There's a talking piece. and people share, and we get to know each other on a different level. You can pass if you don't want to share, but the design is to get to know each other and to build some bridges so that there's maybe connections that weren't there before.
Okay, thank you.
And then there's a whole piece too, Mitch, about when there's a disciplinary consequence, how we approach it with the students in terms of it's not just a punitive outlook, it's how can we repair this? Like helping the student understand why the behavior kind of broke the norms or violated the norms in our community and how we can fix it. So it's helping students learn from their behavior rather than just impose a disciplinary consequence that might remove them from the setting.
Is that what we've been doing?
We've been doing a little bit of both.
Okay.
Can I
Thank
throw
you.
something in? Yeah. Okay, thinking about circles, one of the things that we've been doing a lot of planning, in the practice of having these circles in the classroom, you're setting those norms and standards so that if something does occur, you already kind of have that base to go back to. The kids know how they sit in a circle or interact with each other. So you're kind of building those skills when it's non-threatening along the way in case something happens later. If that makes sense.
Okay. Thank you.
Two questions. Like, I know this is like what we're going to do as a school, right? And that's all well and good, but parents need to take some accountability here, and so I want to understand like how parents are involved in this, because we can't take raising whatever 4,000 kids. And then I just don't have it in top of my head, but number of suspensions we faced last year, like, so just to try to understand the population.
Sure. So a big piece of the legislation, this is all based on legislation, is involving parents. So we've been working with Jen's newsletters, sending them out quarterly. We've been having articles in each school's newsletter. We have shared information at PTO meetings the schools have, and we're looking at nights when parents come to the school, probably not open house. We thought that's kind of, there's a lot on the agenda for open house, but we're looking at the October parent-teacher conferences to have a presentation going in the gym or to have a table set up with information to share with parents. So we're looking at ways to share information with parents, to partner with them and help them understand why this work is so important.
So can I follow up on that?
Yeah.
So if I have a child who's identified, right, do you contact that parents and have like one-on-ones with them? More of a small, because how about if I'm a parent and I'm in denial and I don't go to your sessions? Or because I'm disengaged, I don't even come to the parent open house.
Right. So the schools always reach out to the parents when a student has engaged in some form of challenging behavior, and they would, share what the challenging behavior was, and we always give the option of meeting with the perpetrator and the recipient. But if kids aren't comfortable doing that, like we would not make them sit down and, have a restorative meeting or peer mediation if they weren't comfortable. And sometimes parents want to come in and they want to be a part of that too. So we would work together with the parent to talk about what avenues we feel might be appropriate to resolve the conflict. But ultimately, if the parent wanted to be present, that would be fine. Or if the parent felt that they didn't want their child to participate in that way, we would respect that as well.
Okay, great, thank you.
Has there been professional development on this already?
There has. So each school has what's called a school climate specialist. And we went to a 2-day training at Learn last year. They have certified trainers from the Institute for Restorative Practices. And we also went to a 4-part series with different consultants from the state to help us understand how to implement the new school climate guidance, because it's multifaceted. It involves addressing challenging behavior with tiered interventions. It involves developing a school climate improvement plan. It involves implementation of restorative practices. We had to, as you know, revise our school climate survey this year because it had to be reliable and valid. So we've been doing a lot of work over the course of the year with our RESC Learn and with our state consultants that come to the RESCs and present to all of us. We've also been networking with other districts in our region to kind of ask, how are you handling the data collection of behavior? Because that's something we're looking at too with both Educator's Handbook and SWIS, which is a program from Positive Behavior Interventions and Supports. So data is going to be a big piece of this too, entering our data and being able to disaggregate our data and look at where are some of these challenging behaviors occurring in the building, at what time of the day, what are the most common challenging behaviors, how can we develop a plan to address them. So that's some of the work we've been doing with the RESC and our state consultants.
So the teachers haven't gone to learn, it's the climate specialist?
It's the climate specialists.
So is it the climate specialist that's going to be doing all this work?
We're going to be, we're going to be training all of the administrators at our admin retreat on August 20th. And we've prepared materials that they will bring back and present to their staff on August 28th, one of our PD days right before school starts. It's a Friday. We have a morning session on restorative practices. That will really be our kickoff. And then we're setting aside time on some of the TLI days and some of the PD days to continue the training. It will be a year-long initiative, probably multi-years. But this will be our kickoff. We're focusing just on building community and circles and helping people really kind of, understand what this is all about and really, taking it slow so we hopefully get buy-in.
So if I'm a teacher and I have a problem with Jennifer, I call the climate specialist to come in?
You want to do that?
Yeah. So, in hopes, I think teachers are already doing this. Like you said, there's a lot of these things we're already doing. But I think the trainings that we're giving them and the plans for their PD are going to give them more tools in their toolbox. So that if it's one student, you might be able to be like, okay, we're going to have a quick impromptu conversation about it. If it's Jennifer and it's the whole classroom and we're having this, I'm picturing elementary school, but it's like something that's affecting everyone, you're able to sit down and have a classroom meeting about it. So I do think people are going to realize they already know a lot of this. It's just putting it in a bit more of like a framework.
So Mrs. Washington, the point is that when you develop a relationship with the student, that you want to address those behaviors with the student. It's actually, discouraged to call an administrator because it's important that the teacher work that out with the student.
Right.
So that's our goal.
Okay.
Not to say that there aren't times when teachers are going to need to call administrators, because there will be.
Ian is kind of upset that I asked my question, so I go with Ian right now.
Oh, well, Dr. Ackerman's had our hand up.
No, you go, because
Before I raise my hand. So, I'm just saying. No, I just wanted to ask like a specific scenario. So say the circles get established, and that's been going on for quite some time. And if something were to occur, like say one student who's been verbally harassing another student triggers a response, a physical response from that student that's been bullied. What would be the scenario for resolving that? How would that, what the specific strategies?
Physical altercation during a circle?
No, like the circles were just a thing that the classes were doing.
Yep.
But, what happens in the circles happens in the circle. Throughout the day, what happens in the hallway is in the hallway. What happens, in between other spaces where there's not, no teachers or administrators around, those are other things. So that creates another, alternative climate, or alternate climate.
Right.
And so something could be built in between two students.
Sure.
Where, one person, maybe verbally harassing another, and, maybe that escalates as to that verbal harassment becomes physical.
Right.
Where the bully is asserting more dominance over the victim.
Yeah.
Or perhaps the victim decides to take a stand.
Yeah.
And, gets they find no other recourse.
Right, right.
What's the way back from that scenario? So, specifically, strategy-wise?
Sure, so there are some scenarios, and as I said earlier, there are some instances where students don't want to repair the relationship, and we would not force that. You can't force that. It has to be, both parties have to want to participate. But there's nothing in restorative practices that says that if there's a physical altercation and there's, depending on the severity of it, the administrator could use the school resource officer, and they do have the option to suspend, or, in school or out of school. That would be up to the administrator.
Okay. And say it stops short of physical, crossing the physical threshold. It's just ever escalating verbal.
Sure.
And in the circle, one student decides to bring it out and just try to talk about it in the circle. And say the other student doesn't want to acknowledge that anything ever happened. What would be the scenario there? How
Well, that seems like a very specific scenario,
It is.
and I'm not quite sure I understand all the nuances to it, but I think the teacher would have, the wherewithal to maybe ask someone to sit out of a circle if they're not able to respect the norms, because part of what we do is we review with the kids what the norms are for the circle. And it's very important that we give everyone a turn, and that we're respectful when someone's speaking, so there's a talking piece. So when I'm holding the talking piece, it's my turn to talk. So if someone's not following the rules of the circle, then we would need to review the rules with maybe with the whole group, or with that student in particular.
And in the training, is there other aspects in the training as far as managing the circle prior to crisis? But as far as coaching students on how to express
Yes.
concerns about
Norms.
how they've been treated by another student.
Well, it depends
In a
on
way
what the
that's-
topic of the circle is.
Right.
So the teacher sets the topic for the circle. So I think what you're talking about is more of a restorative conference to repair a wrong with two students. And that requires a higher level of training. We're not necessarily training everyone on that this year. We're working more on the classroom community and strengthening that classroom community.
Okay.
But there are norms that we will teach the students about how we expect the circles, how we expect people to participate when we're in a circle. Because it's important that if someone's sharing, that someone else isn't laughing or making comments under their breath and making that student feel, that maybe, people are laughing at them. We want everyone to feel welcome, we want everyone to feel heard, and we want everyone to feel respected.
Okay.
And that has to be taught, and it has to be modeled, and it has to be practiced. And that's why we start with low-risk questions, right? Like, we start with questions that everyone, that doesn't require people to reveal too much about themselves, right? Because we have to build up to that point and get there. We don't start off that way.
Yeah, that's life in general, for any kind of friendship relationship.
Yeah.
You don't tell people your deep, dark secrets
Right.
until you need them.
Right.
I'm going to go on to Dr. Ackerman. Andrea?
Yes, thank you. I'm going to turn my camera on, even though I shouldn't. But I'd like to, let me, if I can do it. Can you see me? Because I don't know.
Oh, I just saw you, but then you turned it. There you go. Oh, you keep turning it off, Dr. A. Okay.
Okay. I have a bunch of questions, and the first one is just very simple. When you say the circle, where does that take place? Is that like by homeroom or by class?
So at the
Where would that be?
Sure, at the elementary level, they usually start the day with a circle. At the middle school and the high school, it would be during advisory or CTL. And it wouldn't be every day. We would, start to introduce it gradually and get the students comfortable with circles. But it would be, it would not be every day, but it's generally during advisory or CTL.
Okay, that's my question, then. How many students are in a group, like advisory?
Well, the CTL, I know at the high school is quite small. There's about maybe 10 students. Advisory at the middle school, I'm not 100% sure the size of the group, but we can get that information for you.
Okay, thank you. And then I'm still unclear about the staff. So the staff has not been trained yet, but you say, well, they sort of know what they're doing. And I'm quite unclear about that. What does that exactly mean?
I can do it. So a lot of the staff, I think, as teachers, have a lot of the skills required for doing this already. I'm thinking like a lot of teachers have classroom discussions and class meetings, and you're using a lot of the same skills. So we definitely want to put out there that it's stuff we're already doing, but we just want to, placing it into a circle makes, we did a lot of work on like why the shape of a circle, and it wasn't in this presentation, but it does allow everyone to have a voice and everyone to be able to be on equal footing. And so we want to show that just teach the teachers what you're already doing that are great skills. We just want to mold it into this process, if that made sense.
Okay. So, I just want to explain to you why you see my pillows, because my computer is hooked up to my bed. So that's the reason for this informal view of me. So anyway, but that's just an explanation. Okay, so you said that. I'm trying to figure out exactly what circumstance this would happen under. So you said that if a student didn't want to participate, you wouldn't make them. Okay, so here's what I'm envisioning. This kid socks that kid, and the kid who socks the kid says, I'm not doing this, I'm not talking to him, or her, or whatever. I'm not participating. Now what?
Well, when we're introducing the circles and we're going around or we're throwing our fidget to people to go next to take a turn, a student can say, I pass. So that's different from an altercation where another student, physically maybe assaults a student. That probably wouldn't be something we would bring to a whole class circle. That would be dealt with differently. In terms of maybe a conference first with each student separately. There are guiding questions that we use when we're talking to students about their behavior and to help them think about why their behavior might have caused harm to someone, how they could have handled that problem differently, and then how they'd like to move forward with repairing the relationship, or maybe just moving forward in general.
Okay, so let's go back to Ian's question. Let's say that one kid is just really pinging on the other, and the one who's pinging says, again, I'm not doing this, I'm not talking to that one. And so you would do the same thing, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we would have a conference with each student, and we would use our guiding questions to talk about, how we can move forward. They don't have to. If they don't want to talk and they don't want to come together, that's fine. Oftentimes, students need a little cool down period, but we would still work with them to try to resolve the issue. And if we had to impose a disciplinary consequence, we would. But we're trying, as much as possible to keep kids in school and help them learn from their behavior so that they don't engage in that behavior again.
Get that, and that's noble, and I like that. However, I still am trying to grasp how, if I just don't want to participate in this, that's going to solve anything. And then the greater question, my final one is, how does this prepare a child or a student for the outside world? Because nobody's going to say, let's sit down and talk about this.
Right.
That's not the way the world works.
I'll jump in. I think what's confusing is there's different levels of this. And I think we're starting out with really the tier 1 this year, and so the circles in the classroom is tier 1 teaching. Some of these other examples are definitely going to be a higher tier. They're going to involve more in whatever your disciplinary practices are at each school. I'm just thinking of a case where, say, a student is suspended. There would need to be some sort of reentry process for that student that would involve restorative practices. I don't think you could have a student come back into the classroom with someone that they maybe just fought with without having some way to address that behavior. If it's the student's ability to say, we will just not interact, and they're able to stick with that, and they don't have to be friends, that works. But I do think that part of our process is going to be, there are steps that they may be pushed a little harder, they can't pass on before going back into the environment where that behavior occurred.
That's a good point.
So we definitely, part of this in our tier 2 and 3, where we're looking at it, is mental health staff may be involved, referrals to other services
Teaching pro-social skills.
might be involved. So there's definitely other levels to it for these more extreme behaviors. I don't want it to sound like we just send it back to class and we don't do anything. There's definitely more instruction and administrative involvement.
And that's where the capacity building comes in, teaching students pro-social skills. So they're learning strategies that they could use instead of the behavior that got them, into that predicament.
Thank you. I still have reservations about this stuff, but okay, thank you.
Sean?
Just wondering, what metrics are you planning to use to determine if this policy and plan is improving outcomes, reducing suspensions, creating a safer climate, and how will those results be presented to the board on a yearly basis?
Sure. So we're going to be looking at the discipline. We have been looking at the discipline data. We have data that's reported to the state, but then we also have lower level data that's collected at the middle school and high school and educators handbook. At the elementary level, we're really trying to build up our data collection system because we really don't have a data collection system other than the Power School log entries. So we're looking at, classroom referrals or office referrals, and we're looking at, PBIS has a program called SWIS. It's very inexpensive, and it allows schools to enter office referrals and discipline data, and then you can just aggregate the results. So we're looking at SWIS, and then we're also looking at Educator's Handbook. It is a little bit more expensive than SWIS, but it's very affordable, and that is something we're looking at for the elementary schools as well. Right now, they're using an Excel or Google spreadsheet.
Yeah, not that. With the state essentially through legislation mandating this, is this just an unfunded mandate, essentially not giving you that funds to purchase a system like that? Or are there funds available, grants, things that we can get through the state to pay for some of these services?
We've not received any funds.
Okay, Mitch?
I got a couple of questions. One is, this is basically to satisfy a new state requirement that we come up with a policy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. One thing that's not clear to me is if you form the circle, if someone does not want to participate, you've got everybody else in a circle. What do you do with that one person who doesn't want to participate?
They would just say, I pass.
And then they just sit there?
Well, we stand in the circle, and they just would not have a turn at that circle.
Okay. I thought I heard you say earlier that you've been doing this in the elementary schools. So this should not be new then
Right.
to the kids in the middle school and the high school, except for kids who are new to the system.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Okay?
Yeah.
So that's a plus.
Yeah.
I also think the teachers, based on the 30 or so years my wife was in the school system here, they know their students. And I'm not sure what else they would get out of a circle. Maybe the students would get something out of it. But I got to be careful how I say this. But based on what I've seen on TV, like an AA meeting, that's why I say I got to be careful how I say this. It seems as though it's very similar to something like that. Is it?
Well, it's really just trying to build connections. It's sharing. Like I'll just give an example. We had a group of, 9, 10 people who went to the 2-day Learn training, and I got to know colleagues that I've worked with for many years in a different way. Just by sharing a little bit about yourself. One of the questions was, what town are you from and what's that town known for? So it was so interesting to get to know my colleagues in a different way. And that's kind of the intent of this, is, we're going to do our reading, our math, our science, our social studies, but we're also going to take, 15, 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes a week, and we're going to circle up and we're going to try to get to know each other on a different level. And great things happen when that happens. Yeah.
Okay.
Students start to support each other. They start to form connections that weren't there before.
And you've seen that at the elementary level.
Yeah, well, we saw it just with ourselves, with adults.
And I have at the elementary level.
Yeah,
I've
it's
been in
different
classrooms
with
that do it.
adults. Okay.
And I've seen classrooms where there was a circle and a student passed, and then the next question came around and they jumped in. So I think sometimes it's that ability to just take it in for a second. So there's different, and then after that they were good. So I think the pass doesn't happen necessarily all the time.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Do we have a behavior problem now in our schools? A behavior problem?
In what schools?
In all our schools, in our district?
No, I wouldn't say we have a behavior problem, but I think, as Jen alluded to, we look at those tiers, right? So we have 80% of the students in Tier 1, and we're trying to strengthen Tier 1 because we know that if students form those connections and support each other, and students feel connected, that they have friends, they're more likely to come to school and feel good about themselves. But we also have, the 15% that, that could engage in some challenging behaviors. And then we have our 5% who are probably going to need, intervention, maybe direct services, consultation, behavior plans. That won't go away, but we're really trying to strengthen the core.
Okay. And I'm going to move on. Thank you, Denise.
You're welcome.
Next on the agenda is reports and information from staff, and that would be you, Sam.
Yes, good evening. I have 4 items that I'll report on tonight. The first item is the solar carport project at Fitch High School. That project, the power purchase agreement has been signed by Mr. Burt at the town, and so the next steps for that project are the Green Bank right now is finalizing the contract with the contractor. Nikki Dow has been named the project manager for the Green Bank on this project, so we'll be dealing with her as the project goes on. And so that person will also be making a kickoff call to review the scope and commence the development of the project and include all the stakeholders that will be in that, involved in that project. So that's the solar car port project at Fitch High School. Any questions about that before I move on to the second item?
When do you think they'll be starting to get the project? So you signed the purchase agreement. What's the next step?
It will be this call that will set everything up, and then at that time, we'll find out when the process. Once they get the contract signed with the contractor, that's when we'll know when they will be starting the project.
Okay.
So I'll be reporting that at a later date. Second, Shannon. Shannon's always involved in all of these projects, so Shannon, if I misstate something, please, or leave something out, feel free to jump in and correct me or add to these reports if you like. Shannon's been working pretty hard on Mary Morrison, for instance. As far as we know, all the materials from Thames River Magnet School and Mystic River Magnet School have been delivered and are in the classrooms at Mary Morrison now. The maintenance staff has been installing 2 to 3 replacement air conditioners a day in the classrooms that needed those. And once the teachers come in, I think it's August 4th, or something like that, around that time, around August 4th, we will have maintenance personnel, custodial maintenance personnel available to assist the teachers with some of the heavy stuff that they have in their classrooms. Some of these classrooms are really full with a lot of stuff. So I don't know if it'll all fit in there in the end, but if it doesn't, we'll remove what they want removed, or we will assist them with the heavy stuff, assembling, etc. Additionally, the fire marshal will be doing his inspection next week, so we look forward to that meeting with the fire marshal coming up. The third item is robotics.
Wait, any question about Mary Morrison? Jen?
I don't think it's a question, more general announcement that we're holding finance and facilities at Mary Morrison in like 2 weeks. So that's open.
I hope it looks better when you get there than it does right now. Not that it looks bad. It's just a lot of stuff.
Chairman, I sent this to Anne Marie, but I want you to publicly say this. Are we accepting donations for Mary Morrison? It was online. Somebody was asking people to donate clothing, toys, books, etc. for Mary Morrison. So are we accepting donations?
Yeah, Denise brought this to my attention, and my understanding is at this time we're not accepting donations. So thank you for the interest, but at this time we'll let parents know if that changes at any point.
Okay. We are not accepting donations for Mary Morrison.
Like it says on social media.
Yeah, as it says on social media. Thank you, Sean. Sean was actually the person that brought it to my attention. So, thank you, Sean.
Could I add to that, Mrs. Washington?
Yes, sir.
I just want to add that Shannon has been helping us. We have a supply order that's going in for every teacher, for our secretary, for our supply closet. We've also purchased OT supplies, speech supplies, SEL supplies. We really have been able to purchase everything we need from the grant. I think the post was well-meaning, and I thank that person for that. But at this time, we really have been able to purchase everything that we need out of the Smart Start grant.
Thank you. And how are we doing with the water testing and air quality at Mary Morrison?
The water testing was done. We are installing, I'm waiting for the filters to be installed in a couple of spaces that had an issue that were around the limit, but we're not quite over the limit. And once those are installed, we will retest those 2 or 3 areas to get a clear understanding of where we are with those. So they were in the nurse's space and in room 19 and 20, I believe.
Mitch?
Limits of what? These are particulates or something?
Lead content in the water. In Mary Morrison School, unlike some of our other schools, most of they do not have tunnels under the slab in which the water lines run and stuff. So those lines, we're not able to see those lines and work actually on those lines. So we're going to be installing filters on the 2 sites or on the 2 rooms where the limit was close to being concern. And when you have 3 and 4-year-olds, we want to make sure that we take care of that water issue before any kids come into that building.
So the filter is going to filter out the lead?
That's correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
The filters are supposed to work, but we will still test after we put the filters in to reassure ourselves that they're working properly.
Double filter. Okay. So a double filter, essentially.
Yes.
Dean?
And will that testing be ongoing?
I would say, well, we'd probably do it annually anyways.
Right.
Should you do it more than annually, like once every 2 months to make sure?
If I were so directed, I would do it, Madam Chair.
Okay.
I'll take that into consideration.
At least for the first year, to make sure that the water's safe. I mean, I would suggest doing it like once every, go ahead, Mitch. Mitch might know better than me. Go ahead.
There's probably a standard somewhere. And that's probably sufficient. I mean, I got a letter from my water company, Aquarion, about testing my pipes for lead. Everybody did. And, yeah, I don't think it has to be done that frequently. But at any rate, there's probably something that can be looked up online.
The expense to do the whole building on a regular basis we don't want to spend that kind of money, I don't believe. But to look at 2 or 3 areas, might be wise to do that a couple of times at least after these are installed. But
Yeah, I think it'd be safer. if you
I'm
do
fine
it.
with that.
Okay.
Thank you. So the third item is robotics. And so Shannon has sent a list of items to the town purchasing agent for auction. And I believe the auction is complete on August 4th. And once that auction is done, and the items that go in auction are removed, then facilities will remove the leftover items that were in the auction from that space and get it ready and set up for robotics as the assistant, Mr. Jenkins, for the robotics program has indicated. He's given us direction as to where he wants different items in the wood shop. There's a couple of benches we have to take out. Some equipment is remaining, other is not. So once the auction's over, then our department will finish up and work with Mr. Jenkins to make sure it meets his satisfaction.
And are we still looking for a field or half a field for the robotics team? How are we doing with that? I mean, you all came in with 3 options. To me, it was only really 1 option because it was the same company for those 3 options. So for me, it wasn't what I was anticipating. I thought we had 3 separate or 3 different types of options. So how are we doing with the field anyway?
That's the last I heard of that. And I'll have to talk to the superintendent and see where we are with that, because I don't have an answer to that right now.
Okay. Any questions, just Ian?
So there's been no discussion about like how that T-Mobile grant might play into a factor?
Over the past couple weeks, we've been focused mostly on getting the robotics classroom space set up. It's really taken all of our focus over the past couple weeks. But I did participate in a meeting with T-Mobile last week to talk about just the implementation process for that grant. So we now know that whole process and how we'll receive funds and set up the funds. So we're in the process of processing that grant. But, yeah, we'll be returning to that research and that plan as soon as possible.
Is it in any way possible? Well, I guess it much depends on exactly what the plan is, or what is determining the path forward as far as like creating the space. But at one point, when we were brainstorming ideas, there's talk of possibly renting a space. if that was, of course, to be a temporary fix while a more permanent solution was designed, could that T-Mobile grant be used to pay for rent of a space?
I'm pretty confident it could. We would have to speak with T-Mobile about that, but we do have room for adjustment if need be to our plan, as long as it's used for the robotics program and for the field. Yeah.
And any sense of a timeline as far as like when we might revisit that conversation about the options and what the long-term solution to the practice fields question?
After August 4th.
After August 4th. Okay.
Mike and then Jen. Mike?
Yeah, yes, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
My question actually is still about Mary Morrison. I enjoyed taking the tour and I can see the progress moving forward. I'm sure there's much more now. But one thing, it still had a closed up or perhaps a musty smell to it. Is that still the case? And is there any air quality testing that has been or going to be done for Mary Morrison?
Yeah, probably since the time you were in there, there's been fresh paint that's been done in the building. And I haven't noticed it when I've been in there. I hope it isn't because I'm used to it.
I think maybe it was the floors waxed.
And the floors have been waxed as well. So, but I'll look into that.
Yeah, I think we were in about a month ago is when the town council walked through as well.
I'll make a note of it and I'll look into it, Mike.
You upset, Mike?
Yeah, thanks.
Jen?
So,
Jen, will you back
finance
up?
and facility, we had asked for timelines. I just want to, and we also asked about, obviously, we're not going to be able to build a building or get a field up and running, the permanent solution. I think it was either the last committee meeting or the last finance facility meeting. We've been discussing this a lot. But a request I know I had made is to have Director of Athletics seriously consider looking at the small gym and treating the robotics team as equal level as sports, so that if it's 1/4 of the gymnasium, 1/2 of the gymnasium, or whatever it may take, moving equipment in and out, that at least there's a facility or a site somewhere at Fitch that is going to be considered for the beginning of the school year. So I would like an update on that.
And it's an answer for Mr. Romano to respond to, I'm sure.
Maybe we can invite him.
He's coming
Sure.
on August 10th to the board meeting.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
I know there are a lot of teams that use the auxiliary gym too. I think they hold volleyball events in that room, so there probably wouldn't be much more room. You'd probably use it most of the court for the volleyball, but again, that's for Mr. Romano to answer.
Yes.
Hi, any other questions for Sam? If not, we'll move on. AJ?
Yeah, I was just going to make a quick comment on the water quality. Presumably those would be carbon filtering system. And I guess as far as testing goes, I would just, rather than going in a timeline necessarily, I would just look at what the replacement cycle is for the carbon and maybe check it at 2/3 or 3/4 of the date. So just be a little bit proactive on checking that it's working as, so that we know we're not wearing out that carbon prematurely.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Okay. Next is,
I had one more item, if you don't mind.
I'm sorry.
I don't think I did yet. Did I talk to you about the machine shop?
No.
Okay. So 5 of the machines have been delivered to the machine shop, and there are 2 more coming next week. And once the machines are here, then our electricians will be running the electrical to those to set them up, and the testing of those equipment will happen at that point. So that's going to be happening over the next week or two. I have a note here, there's something about Shannon has a note on moving the equipment, but that wouldn't be in there. Okay. I don't know why that note's there, I wrote it.
Maybe related to the wood shop then.
I thought we should have been at the wood shop. Thank you. That's it.
That's it, okay. So 2 more machines next week, and then the electrician comes, and then, okay. So it looks like we'll be ready for the machine shop by opening of school. So,
That's the plan.
Okay, good. All right, next is committee reports. Policy, they didn't have a meeting this month. The last meeting was in June, and Mike will report on that later. And curriculum, no meeting. Right? Finance and facilities, they met on July 7th.
Yeah, so on July 7th, we met at Mary Morrison. We held our standard meeting where Director of Finance went over some transfers. We did not have a chance to review financials at the time because the staff was still working at it. Sam gave updates on similar to robotics, and we did not discuss Mary Morrison at that time. And then also we had a discussion on the food price increase for lunches at 3 of our schools. So it's a quarter that should be being discussed later on. And then we discussed the grants, and Shannon was basically able to assist in bringing like about $350,000 to our community, so that was discussed. Some of them, I believe, are here looking for approval. So, and then we also took a tour of the facility. There were some concerns by some of the people who walked through, and but overall it was like a good positive improvement from what we saw prior. So we're looking forward to returning in August to see all the progress, and just to ensure also that we hit the timeline, which I know you guys are actively working. So we do want to thank the team for that. And that was pretty much high level what we discussed.
Okay. Communications, I don't think they had a meeting.
No, it's quarterly.
Okay, Learn, no meeting in July. Athletic fields,
Be canceled by Mark Berry.
okay. So when's the next meeting?
Don't know.
Okay. Military superintendent liaison, they met, but I think Susan reported on that in May, I'm pretty sure. Town council, city council, RTM Board of Ed meeting.
No meeting because it's quarterly.
Okay. Do you know when the next meeting is? October.
Is it October? It's on a Thursday. Hold on. I'll look for it. I can jump in if you don't mind.
Okay. Joan Eating left at 7:20. Just so you have that, Joan. Then are you online? Okay, I'm sorry. You didn't say anything, so I thought you left.
September 10th, preferably.
Okay. You said, Jen?
Yes, September 10th is the next liaison meeting, and it's at Thrive 55.
Okay. Do you have a room already?
No, but I can talk.
The SAGA Board of Ed liaison, we met in May, and we talked about discipline, accountability for parents, headphones and earbuds. Students are still walking around with headphones, and I witnessed that myself, and I had a conversation with the superintendent about that. Policy written one way, they're talking about discipline policy or their cell phone policy, whatever, and it's implemented another way. So that's the problem. Were you there at the meeting? No. Okay. And they want us to put the, like Jennifer said, Jen said, put the onus back on the family. Too much responsibility on the teachers. What about accountability for the family? And Adrian, you could jump in whenever you want to, because you were at the meeting too.
Yeah, the one thing that I would say would be maybe putting some teeth in the absenteeism to deal with chronic absenteeism. And some students miss an extraordinary amount of days of school and just get passed on to the next grade. So.
And then we talked about testing, and they said, we focus a lot on test scores, but there's a lot of variables for the test scores, like what's happening at home, scheduling. Kids are on their devices. They're up all night on their devices. So when they come to school, they're tired, and interruptions in their schedule, and just interruptions in the daily routine of a classroom. So we talked about that for a while. Like Adrian said about the attendance policy, they would like to see pouches for the cell phones like they have at Stonington School District. The kids put their cell phones in a pouch. They call it Yonder, and they put the cell phones in a pouch. And they suggested that, we try to get that in Groton also.
I know someone at Yonder.
Oh, okay. All right, good. It's good to have connections. They also talk about special ed teachers being injured, special ed caseloads, and space and support is a problem. I've looked this up at the last meeting. Special ed teachers have to do testing for students who have an absentee issue. They'll be referred to special ed. They talked about that for a while. Lack of information from registrar to teacher, not always in Power School, so that's a problem for them. They talked about security is not doing a good job at the high school. I won't go into that much more than that because I don't want to get into that. And that's about it. Let's see. And I guess this was more for board members about staff morale, trusting educators, less emphasis on test scores, and work together to have a good climate. Respect the learning environment as we respect the testing environment. So, and that's about it for AGSA. Our next meeting is on October 8th at 4:15 at Central Office. All right, next item is consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I make a motion.
Okay, Sean?
Second. Or Adrian can.
Second, Adrian? Okay. Any questions, comments about the consent agenda, about the minutes of May 26th? That's attachment 2. June 10th, that's attachment 3. I do have some comments. So, June 16th, attachment 4. June 23rd, attachment 5. June 29th, attachment 6. And July 13th, attachment 7. Any comments on that? The only thing I would add is on the May 26th minutes, on the superintendent and administration reports, it says summer programs. Superintendent also noted the following summer programs and projects I would put, because a couple of things on that list are projects, like roof project at CB and Mary Morrison windows and painting. So I would add programs and projects. Anything else? That's all I have for that. Okay. All those in favor of accepting, of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? If you're online, can you raise your hand? Dr. A, are you approving Adrian? No, Adrian's up here. Ian? Jay, Andrea, Mike? Okay, no Mike, so Mike, okay. 9 to 0 to 0, okay. Next is new business, discussion and possible action regarding, I forgot one thing, excuse me. The City of Groton donated $4,500 to Groton Public Schools Food Services Department. Thank you very much, City of Groton, for doing that. Okay, next is discussion and possible action regarding the food service program, meal pricing. And can I have a motion? Sean, can you make that motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the proposed meal pricing for Northeast Academy, Charles Barnum, and Fitch High School.
For an increase of 25
For an increase
cents?
of 25 cents for breakfast and 25 cents for lunch.
Okay. Do I have a second? Mitch? Okay. Sean. All right. Ernie's online. Ernie, do you want to talk about the meal pricing?
He might be on mute. You're on mute.
Are you on mute, Ernie?
Oh, yeah, he might not be.
Mark, can you promote Ernie if he's not promoted as a panelist? What did he say?
Ernie, you're muted.
Is he talking?
Yeah.
I think so, yes.
Ernie, you're still muted.
Is that him or is that Mark? Is that Mark?
There it is.
Okay.
There you go.
No.
He's,
You're back to muted, Ernie.
You're good.
you're good.
Okay, you did something on your end, thank you. Thank you for the price increase, and please keep in mind, this was not something that we decided just to do. It was a mandate by USDA, and we didn't increase our prices last year at all, because we thought that, with everything going on, the families were already stretched thin as it was. This year, we had to raise our price by 25 cents. And like I indicated to Superintendent Austin, that I think if we do this price increase, which we had to do a minimal to be where we should be, 22 cents. So that's why we picked the 25 cents, because we don't deal with pennies. That we probably will not have to do a price increase next year. So thank you for this. And again, it affects our 3 schools that are not CEP, which is Fitch High School, Northeast Academy, and what's the other one?
Charles Barnum.
Yeah, so that's what that's all about.
Ernie, how does our district prices compare to other districts in our neighborhood or comparable school districts?
Yeah, so we're the most reasonable. If you compare to Stonington, New London's all CEP, but Waterford, Montville, we're right there. We're just slightly under all of our surrounding districts, and we're significantly lower than our upper Connecticut towns and stuff, what they charge. They're in the $5 range, the $4.75, the $5.75, all through Hartford area, that you would kind of expect might be a little bit more, but we've always kept the pricing as low as possible for our families and stuff. So.
Okay, thank you, Ernie. Jen?
I just want to make sure that this motion is going to read correctly, because it says to approve the proposed meal price increase for 25 cents for breakfast and 25 cents for lunch. But should it be district lunch and it's just these 3 schools that are impacted? Because the way this would read, it would be like the schools that get reimbursed are not going to get a price increase of 25 cents. So I just want to make sure that that's, like, does the motion need to be reworded, or is that the intent that the schools that are getting reimbursement are not going to get a 25% increase?
Are all the schools getting the 25% the 25-cent increase?
No, the CEP schools were already getting the reimbursement rate for those schools. We're locked into our 5-year cycle with that.
Okay.
And we're in year 2. So it's just those 3 schools specifically, Jen, that we're discussing right now.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure, right, that was how it was working. Okay, thank you for that.
Ian, you have your hand up?
Yes, I was hoping to maybe just get some background on the mandate you said for the USDA. I'm not familiar. What's the situation there? What's coming down?
Yep, so our reimbursement rate that we get from the USDA for the lunches and the breakfasts, they have to be equal to what we're charging, or it's as if the district is subsidizing, or the USDA is subsidizing the difference, right? So they make it a mandate now that all public schools in Connecticut and all through the country, they set, a price calculator, and you have to put in what you're currently charging, how many meals you serve, etc. It tells you, it's their program that tells you what your increase needs to be. Whereas last year we were in that we had to increase by, I think it was 12 or 14 cents, but we chose not to make that increase, fully knowing that this year we would have to. And the reason that we had a little leeway was, remember, and just like this upcoming school year, when the state steps in and pays for, like, for instance, this coming school year, the state, not USDA, but the state is paying for all breakfasts for all children, even our 3 schools that we're talking about. So you can take that kind of thing into a factor, like the previous years that we were able to, coming out of the COVID and COVID funding, that all ended all last year, before last year started, school year. But this year coming up, the families won't have to really, our Groton families won't have to feel that 25-cent burden on breakfast, because it's free for all kids. Should that change next year, after this upcoming school year, it's what the legislators all work on and stuff. But this will also help, in theory, with our unpaid school meal balances at the end of next year too, because breakfast is being covered by the state, breakfast only, this upcoming school year.
Okay, so this USDA calculator that you just described, that basically dictates or comes up with the number that we're supposed to match. Is that a new? Is the formula the same as it's been historically, and it's just this is attached to like inflation, or is this a new policy that the USDA enacted in the last couple of years?
No, we've had this price calculator in place over the last several years, honestly. Again, if the government's given us $3.75 for lunch, we can't be charging our kids $3.25 because the government or the USDA feels that they're subsidizing that difference, if you will. So that's why they try to make it uniform across the whole country, that everyone should at least be at this minimum. You can certainly go higher. That has never been our choosing by the board or superintendent. We've always kept it at the bare bone minimum. So this has been in place for the last several years. It's just during COVID and everything, all of that kind of was all put on hold until, everything went through and all the subsidies ended, if you will.
All right, so the 375 figure has been consistent,
Yes.
dating back like more than 5-6 years.
Oh, yes.
Okay, wonderful, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Yeah? Okay, all those in favor of approving the proposed meal price increase of 25 cents for breakfast and 25 cents for lunch at Northeast Academy, Charles Barnum, and Fitch High School, say aye, and if you're online, raise your hand. Okay, am I missing somebody online? Ian? How are you voting?
I'm opposed. I'm opposed.
Okay, so 8 in favor, 1 opposed, Joan, that's Ian, and no abstentions. Okay. I'm just taking notes, I'm sorry. Okay, the next item is discussion of possible action regarding the USDA Farm to School Implementation Grant. Can I have a motion? Mitch, you feel like reading that?
I'd like to make the motion to approve the USDA Farm to School Implementation Grant in the amount of $100,000.
Do I have a second? Ken? Okay, Mitch made the second, Mitch made the motion, and Jen seconded. All right, Ernie, do you want to talk about that, or do you want to talk about it, Shannon? I think Ernie left.
No, he's still there.
He's still there, okay.
Ernie, okay if I
Yeah,
start?
please go ahead and I'll jump in.
Okay. So I'm so happy to share that Groton Public Schools and the Food Service Department was selected for another $100,000 implementation grant from the USDA. This is a highly selective national grant program. Only 67 entities were selected across the country, and only 3 in Connecticut, and only 1 school district, Groton Public Schools. This is the second implementation grant that Groton Public Schools has received. So I was just so thrilled that we did receive it. We initially thought that we might not, but they released a second cohort of grantees just a couple weeks ago, and we were selected for it. So, Ernie, I turn it over to you.
Yeah, and as Shannon has said, first of all, thank you, Shannon. Kudos to Shannon, who, really wordsmiths a lot of the grants and stuff that we do and stuff. So we're super fortunate to have her just overlook my layman terms when I put a grant out there. So this is actually our 3rd USDA grant, but this is the second implementation one. It's kind of like a series, right? So we got seed money to start a big farm to school program, and then the second round came in where we actually installed gardens and stuff in the schools and put in greenhouses, et cetera, like that, with also some labor built in to hire a farm to school coordinator, which we have on staff. And then this third one, which, as Shannon indicated, we're both starting to get a little bummed out a little bit because, the closer we got to July, it's like, well, we got to award this by July 1, and here it is June 29th. I'm getting a little nervous here. But they had a few questions that they came back to, and luckily we were able to clarify some of the questions that they asked. But this new grant is just going to expand all of our processing, bigger equipment and stuff. If some of you don't know, but we also already process our own hummus for our schools. We make our in-house hummus at our production kitchen. We don't use tahini paste, so it's now allergen-free, which is our whole goal, is to make real food for the kids at all grade levels. So all this new equipment that we're able to get is expanding that. We're making our own ranch dressing, so they're cleaner labels. There's no artificial ingredients, dyes, and stuff like that a lot of commercially processed things are. So we batch that up and send it out the schools. We're making our own little apple crisp with fresh apples, cinnamon, sugar. So we're doing a lot of our processing, and yes, we are actually starting to realize some savings as well that the USDA has noted with processing our own in-house stuff. We're able to do that a little bit better. So this latest round only helps to extend for the next couple of years staffing, meaning labor-wise, for my farm-to-school coordinator. It's allowing me to hire a production kitchen production manager now. There's benefit money in there to help make it attractive for folks. So this is like a series of USDA grants that we get letters from Congressman Courtney, some of our local folks, only even in what we're doing in Groton with the shipping container and everything. We really feel like we're ahead of a lot of school districts, and we know that because they send folks over to see what we're doing. We just hosted Westerly School to come over to see how we're doing farm to school and stuff. So we feel very fortunate that we're being recognized in that fashion, that people are sending folks to our district to see how we're doing it. And of course, some of the equipment I mentioned was like we're getting some additional refrigerators as well, and outdoor freezer space like at Charles Barnum. We're able to move the stuff out of Mary Morrison's outdoor freezer that stored a lot of our processed stuff. And this grant is paying for a new freezer to be installed over at Charles Barnum on the outside because they have no freezer space. So the staff for food service comes over every morning, gets their supplies and takes over to Charles Barnum to cook. Well, now we're getting their own big walk-in freezer right outside the back door. So it frees up my freezer again at Mary Morrison for processing and stuff. So these grants have been super supportive. They help us keep expanding. And again, I just have to thank, Sam and his crew for always installing some of these new pieces that I get with electric and stuff, and for Shannon to help, help write these grants for me. I got the ideas and stuff from the whole motion and the whole plan. I just need someone to put it so somebody would really understand what I'm trying to say. And she does that so well. And of course, thank you to this board that's always super supportive of keep expanding our farm to school, because the freshness for our kids is what we're all about. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Ernie, and thank you, Shannon and Sam, too.
Can I just add one more thing?
Go ahead.
So one other small component of the grant, but I think will be significant, includes some funds to expand our partnership with the Denison Pequot Seacoast Nature Center. It's going to provide some training for our early childhood educators on farm-to-school gardening practices, and some field trips for the preschool students, too.
Any questions for Shannon or Ernie or Sam? No? Okay, all those in favor of approving the USDA Farm to School Implementation Grant in the amount of $100,000 online, raise your hand. Thank you for doing that. And okay, so that passes 9-0. Thank you. One more for you, Ernie, I guess, is the discussion and possible action regarding a first reading of policy P3542.43, food service charging policy. It's attachment number 8. Thank you, Shannon. Do I have a motion? Sean, would you read that for me?
I'd like to make a motion to approve policy P3542.43, food service charging at a first reading.
Okay, Sean. Do I have a second?
I can second.
Jen, thank you. All right, Mike, do you want to take us through this policy, Mike? It's attachment 8 in your packet.
Yeah, I can briefly. We looked into this policy. The motivation actually to look into this, I guess came from really Sean and Ernie, because we're trying to see if we're doing everything possible to deal with the balance that different families were running up through the school year for unpaid meals. And we did discuss that extensively, but within the parameters of what the school system can do and what we feel is kind of the right thing to do, we couldn't add anything to the policy really to help avoid such large unpaid balances next year or the year after through a policy at least. But we did look at the policy overall and some of the changes. I think there's some changes made to legal reference as well, but there's just some changes here and there to the wording. So the fact that we were discussing in the first place, we might as well just take a whole fresh look at the policy, and the changes you see are what came of our discussion. And that was, I think, maybe the last time we discussed that was the June 9th meeting.
I think there's a couple of errors in this policy, like participates should be small p, so you might want to look at that when you bring it back. And then it says on the third paragraph, the food service department allows students to charge a single reimbursable meal to their student account for breakfast and lunch each day to their student account. That's redundant, so you might want to look at that. And I do have one question. Can they come to central office to pay their bill? Does it only have to be the school cafeteria or the food service office?
No, that they can certainly go to central office and drop a check. Obviously, online has been our biggest player now, with folks putting money on their student's account. It sends automatic alerts and stuff that the parent can set. Hey, let me know when it gets down to $20. Let me know when it gets down to $15, whatever it is. Parents have full control of that. But we, on our end, also will set it so when it gets down to $15, our system automatically sends out texts and emails to the parents to make sure that hey, just so you know your child's account is getting low. But to answer your question, Bev, absolutely all the cafeterias will take cash, check, or central office. Should they choose, they could drop a check off up there with the front desk, because we have a box up there, so they would put it right in. And we have received a few checks from central office via that method.
So you might want to add central office to the policy. Ernie, maybe you can help clarify this sentence. It says charging is intended to be for emergency purposes only. Does that mean they can't use their credit card? What does that mean? Charging is intended to be for emergency purposes only. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's the 5th paragraph down.
Yeah. So it's actually, that's been in your charge policy for years. So, it wasn't as frequent years ago that when students would even come anywhere near this amount of unpaid meal debt. So the intention is, hey, I don't have any money in my account. It refers to the student that it's really to be used, hey, kiddo, just remind your parents that, you have no money in the account. And that's really an older terminology that's still in there. Possibly that could be reviewed to possibly be removed. But the intention is, we don't want students, okay, that we can charge every day just because we can. It's really, hey, folks are getting paid at the end of the week or whatever. I think that's what that theory was with that kind of terminology. But students are never denied a meal, regardless if it's breakfast or lunch, because it's not really the student's fault at all. But that's an older terminology, though.
Okay. Any other, Mitch?
Can I add to that?
Go ahead. And then Mitch.
Just briefly, that charging, I think the language still needs to be in there because there's a distinction somewhere else that staff cannot charge, that they have to pay forward. So there's a distinction, of the ability of the student to basically we're always going to give them a meal, where staff would have to kind of pay forward.
Right.
All right. If you say so. It's still unclear to me. Go ahead, Mitch.
When I looked at this, I don't really see any kind of meaningful teeth in here for students and their parents, whatever, to really get them to pay, which is why we have a problem. And is there something we can do regarding that?
Do you have any suggestions? We talked about it a lot. We came up with it. So if you have a suggestion, let us know.
I guess I don't.
If you think of one, just let us know. Because we talked about what we could do. And, right, Ernie?
Yeah, and I think Mike did a great job, reading those paragraphs over and over, and even, Sean and I have chatted about it, but, and the defense, it's really tough. Like, the state really has language in there that just almost handcuffs us. Here's all you can do, and it's the bare bone minimum, and it's everything that Mike has in here. There's nothing that takes you, has been mentioned, there's nothing that takes us to the next level where, okay, we're going to put a boot on your car, or, anything like that. There's no state language that will allow us to take any further action, which is unfortunate, because once someone kind of gets used to not paying their bill, it just continues to escalate, which we have seen our balance creep up year after year. It never goes backwards, it only goes up.
It seems, I'm sorry, do I still want it? It seems somewhat unfair to the students who do pay, because they are paying. But I realize we're handcuffed by the state. So, thank you. I appreciate everything you do.
How much is our unpaid school balance, meal balance now?
It was 68,000 and change.
Jen and Ian?
In that one that you guys were questioning where it says charging is intended, maybe we could do something more like running a negative balance. I don't know if that will make it clearer. Running a negative balance is intended for emergency purposes only, and then repayment is expected instead of charging if charging is causing an issue.
Did you hear that, Mike?
Yeah, that's a good option to discuss.
Yeah. And I know I saw like you guys had intentionally removed our website and then you put the grotonschool.org website online. Is that a link? Is that the intent and why you guys replaced it? So that they could just go to our website and potentially find all of those applications and apply online?
Yeah, I think we did it just so people knew what the site is.
Okay.
So then it's just saving them time.
Yeah, okay, great. Thank you.
If this is online, it could be clickable as well.
Did I say Jen?
Yes.
Okay. Ian?
Thank you. Yeah, for the record, I'm going to vote against this on grounds of principle. I think it's long past due. This is a state mandate that we have to deal with. And long story short, I think we should move in the direction of pushing towards the state providing universal meal access. If students are required to be at school, I think it is unjust, inherently unjust, to charge them a meal for places they're required to be. While I can appreciate the efforts of the policy committee and everyone, Ernie and everyone involved dealing with the situation as it currently stands, I am now, from here on out, going to take the position that we need to be more progressive-minded in the idea of challenging the state to provide us the money, provide all school districts the money to provide meals for all students that are required to attend public school. Full stop. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. Mitch?
I believe it's a privilege for a student to be in this school system. You make it, I apologize, Ian.
It's the law.
Hold tight, let him finish, Ian, let him finish.
After listening to what I just heard, it makes it sound like it's a prison that we have here. And in prison, yeah, they have to feed the prisoners. Okay, but I view it as a privilege for a student to be here. Yes, it is required, okay, but the kids, that's a whole other issue with regard to absenteeism, which we're trying to correct as well. But I also think that as it is a privilege, that feeding them is an additional part of that privilege, so, an extension of sorts. So I don't view it that way that the state should be feeding everybody. I mean, where does it stop? Thank you.
Okay. All right, so, let's not have a debate on this, because you and Mitch could take it offline and go back and forth and debate. Let's just move on to the vote. Okay? So, all those in favor of approving policy 3542.43, food service charging policy as a first reading? If you're in favor, raise your hand. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in favor. Ian, you oppose, right?
That is correct.
Okay. Okay. And anybody abstain? Okay, so 6 in favor, 1 opposed, and 0 abstentions. I don't know, then move on.
I'm really conflicted on this. I'm more with Mitch. I don't think that the school should be responsible for feeding all children. I'm conflicted on this.
So are you voting? Are you voting for the policy or not?
Well, I think I'm abstaining at this point.
Okay.
That's what I was trying to say.
All right. So,
And Deb, I didn't have the opportunity to put my hand up to oppose.
who's
So
that?
I am opposed.
Jay?
This would be Jay.
Okay, go ahead. What did you say, Jay? You opposed?
I'm opposed.
Okay. So now, we have 6 in favor. That is Jen, Sean, Adrian,
Yeah.
myself, Mitch. Mike, are you on?
Yeah, I was in favor.
You're in favor, Mike. Okay, thank you, Mike. And 2 opposed, which is Jay and Ian, and 1 abstain is Andrea. Okay? Motion that passes for first reading. Thank you, everyone. The next one is discussion and possible action regarding a first reading on policy P5144.12, challenging behavior, prevention, restorative practices, response, and student discipline. Can you read that for me, Adrian?
Yeah, I would like to make a motion to approve policy P5144.12, challenging behavior prevention, restorative practices, response, and student discipline as a first reading.
Second.
I'll second that.
Beach Mike.
All right, Adrian, and second. Mitch beat you to it, Mike. All right, Mike, you're on.
Actually, I could probably turn this over to Denise, and it pairs perfectly with the thoughtful and kind of comprehensive presentation that you had earlier.
Oh, thank you, Mike.
It's required.
I don't have anything else to add. If anyone has any questions, Jen and I stuck around. We're more than happy to answer them.
I have one.
So this is an entirely new policy, and it's there because of the entirely new legislation requirements.
Thank you, Mike.
My only questions are, did you get any teacher input on this policy? Did any of the teachers see this policy and ask them what do they think? Because they're the ones that are going to be living this policy.
Sure. So the policy came from CABE, and we shared it with our committee, with our school climate committee, because it's been, for whatever reason, we were hoping it would have been brought before the board earlier in the school year, but because of the schedule with policy meetings, it wasn't. So our committee has reviewed the policy. The committee is, there's teachers on the committee and administrators. I mean, I don't know if they've read the policy word for word, but they are familiar with restorative practices and the components in the Connecticut School Climate Initiative.
Jen?
Not that we're responsible, but is there going to be like an associate regulation that teachers can refer to?
Oh, yes. Yep, there are guidelines for implementation.
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect.
It's included in our packet, the regulations related to that.
It's on page 1 of 7. Is it possible to send it to Rebecca and some of the people in the GA just to look it over?
Sure, yeah, most definitely.
Thank you. You don't have to do everybody, but just a couple of them. Anything, Adrian?
I was just going to kind of support your request on some staff feedback or teacher feedback. And I'll vote for this in the first read, but I would like to hear some feedback for either in policy committee or in a second read.
Okay. Mike, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that though you'll see the full policies in green and the regulations are too, because they're new. Many of the practices mentioned are already being implemented and were being done in some senses before. So this is just a larger umbrella and to go along with the new initiative, which will help because we do confront high-level suspensions and disciplinary actions. So if it can help with that, it would be wonderful.
Yeah, I agree. But I'd still like to get Rebecca and
absolutely
one teacher for each level. Like Rebecca Elementary. Who's the other one? Laura. She's in the middle school, and I don't know about the high school.
I can ask Rebecca who the reps are.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Anything else? I'm sorry, Ian. I apologize. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, to follow up on the presentation, I want to thank Denise and Jen for the presentation. One thing I want to note was that, I'm a firm believer in what I've referred to as positive peer pressure, and I think the circle group, as you described, is a good first step towards creating a community of positive peer pressure. The questions I asked had to do more with the outliers that, will have to be dealt with at some point in some fashion. And it sounds like there are tiered interventions that exist beyond the baseline level of what this policy establishes. If I'm understanding correctly, it's formalizing what has been a common practice in a lot of schools and classrooms, but it's now a state mandate and now being formalized as a policy. I think it's all a good step. And I do look forward to hearing, I support the idea of getting feedback from teachers and having meaningful input from them as we continue to craft policy. But I do support the first read The only thing I would maybe note is that any professional development or expenses attached to this, we should also put that somewhere in the category where we can revisit as to requesting the state support what it mandates. Thank you.
I knew you were going to say that.
Exactly.
When the legislators come to talk to the board, I think in October, November, we can talk to them about that. So make sure you have that meet on.
Got a list. Getting bigger. All right.
Thank you. Dr. A?
So, I just want to clarify this. This is a state mandate, we have to do it no matter what we vote tonight, correct? So if I voted to abstain, to think about it some more, it would make a difference anyway, because we got to do it, is that correct?
It is a legislative initiative, and it was supposed to be in place last school year, so we're a little late coming to you due to scheduling and agendas. But yes, it is a required part of the Connecticut School Climate Improvement Plan.
So if I abstain to think about it, wouldn't make any difference, that's what you're saying?
No, it doesn't make a difference. We still have to do it.
Yeah, that's what my question was, okay, thank you.
All right, okay. All those, any other comments? Okay. All those in favor of approving policy P5144.12, challenging behavior prevention, restorative practices, response to student discipline as a first reading. We have 3 people online, 4 people online. Raise your hand if you're voting for this. Okay. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And which one else they go? Okay. Thank you. That's 8-0. So that passed. Thank you, Denise. I did have one question. I saw when I was reading it on the policy online, the section and everything, and it said the commissioner set up a committee. Did the results of that committee come out yet? It said the commissioner set up...
It's a collaborative.
Oh, it's the collaborative.
Yeah, the commissioner formed a committee. That's what it said. I don't know what kind of committee.
The committee developed they adopted the National School Climate Guidelines or standards, and they've sent out guidance in terms of implementation of the policy.
Okay. And this is...
It's the collaborative, it's the committee they established.
And this isn't the guidance.
That's from CABE, it's based on their legislation.
Okay. All right, thank you. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Thank you, Denise.
Thank you, everyone.
Safe travels home. Ian, you have your hand up?
No, I'm sorry, that was for the vote, but thanks for the presentation as well. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right, next is discussion of possible action regarding the first reading of policy P1330, use of school facilities. That's attachment 10. Jen, can you read that?
Motion to approve policy P1330, use of school facilities, as a first reading.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Sean? Okay, Jen and Sean. All right, Mike, you want to take us through this? It's attachment 10?
Say that again?
No, I'm just saying what attachment it is.
Oh, thank you. Yes, so this policy, the history here is this had gone to the Finance and Facilities Committee. So the previous version of this policy had an accompanying regulation, and that regulation is now part of it's in Appendix C, so it's part of the policy, and that's probably what we'll spend a lot of time talking about. I'd say it's the pricing of the different rates for using different spaces for different groups after school usually, and so that had gone when it was still the existing policy. The update of that basic fee schedule had gone to finance and facilities. And we discussed it, I think as a board, it felt like to me maybe around September or October last year. And then it got, the decision was to put it through policy and incorporate the fee schedule in the policy itself. So it's something the board has to actively approve each year. So a lot of the changes that you'll see, typically you'll see the strikeouts in red or the additions in green. That's there, but I want to make sure people know that whole Appendix A that's now part of the policy wasn't in the policy before as part of the regulation. That's all in black, but it's come over here. So there's actually, I guess it's, everything's now bundled into the policy, so that's a big change. And then we should pay attention to the fee structure itself.
Hold on, Mike, 1 second, Mike. Mike, hold on 1 second. Mike, hold on 1 second. Mark, can you get the fees table up online so people can see it? I'm sorry, Mike.
What number?
It's attachment 10.
It's like page 3, I think. I mean, you can look at the other parts too. I just wanted to make sure people knew that there's more than just a wording change here.
Mm-hmm. Can I ask a question, Mike?
Yeah.
Okay. On page 2, use of school facilities continue, number 7, right? It says the board or designee reserves the right to determine the need for and blah, blah, blah. How is that going to work? How are we going to do that?
I think we already are. I think it's, like requiring secondary insurance. I don't know if, for instance, the robotics would have an additional one. Maybe they wouldn't. Yeah, I don't know if there's a big function like once in a while at the high school they have those concert groups come through, they're sort of like trying to like a rock group, but trying to bring in a lot of community to it. You can see crowd control or something like that.
Wouldn't that be more the superintendent and not the board? So
Yeah, I think that's the designee. It's one of those, I think this is one of those, it always confused me, like, we say the board, and the board has two different meanings, right?
Mm-hmm.
The board sometimes is the whole school system. We could put the superintendent if you want, because it is mentioned elsewhere in that wording. I think we have superintendent a lot. It's kind of a mix. We do say board a lot.
Well, like board policies, that's okay, because our policy. But if they need police protection, is somebody gonna come, like Sam, come to the board and say, can you approve police protection at the high school for the football game? That doesn't happen.
Yeah. Maybe board, superintendent, or designee. Because you're right. Functionally, we wouldn't be that quick on it.
Ian has his hand up.
Well, thank you. Yeah, one of the things that I've been toying with is how to draw that line that Mike just identified. What's administration's realm of responsibility and what's the board's direct responsibility? Because a lot of these documents, the language doesn't be confusing. And one thing I've done sort of just informally in my own conversations with other people is I use the term the district to refer to administration side of things, and I use the term board to say something that's exclusively within our purview. So I'm just going to throw that out there as something to think about as moving forward with all these documents, all the policies, and wherever we may have to communicate some sort of degree of separation there, where district administrators versus board of education members.
fun part is it's also in like the state regulations, it's often the board, and it is confusing to me often.
Mike, in paragraph number 8, the same section, you have to further provide for separation of church and state, use of school facilities for sectarian purposes may not begin until 15 minutes after the dismissal. Do you think 15 minutes is long enough to get all the kids out of the school? I was thinking more like 30 minutes. But that's just me, don't go for a minute.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it's not something we discussed at all. That part's unchanged. But we can discuss that. Because that's strategic. Like, what can you practically do?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll bring that up.
And my other question, I guess it's page 1 or 3. It's regulations, actually. It says regulation 1330, page 1 or 3. I guess we don't do regulations, but it says something about central office. So I'm like, well, who in central office? The tax rental request form must be completed, approved by the building principal and central office. What does that mean?
Yeah, would it be the
Page
superintendent?
1 or 3, under community relations, it's regulation. Regulation 1330, and it's the last sentence in the first paragraph. It says the attachment of request form must be completed, and then they crossed out, filled out, but must be completed, approved by the building principal and central office. But who in central office is going to do the approval? Is it going to be Anne Marie? Is it going to be you, Sam? Is it going to be Shannon? Is it going to be Susan? Is it going to be Lori?
It's usually the business
Yeah.
ones.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
good point. It should be the superintendent or designee.
okay. This, I just want to clarify that.
Because on number 19, we put superintendent or designate
Yeah.
as well, so we should keep that consistent.
Okay.
It's a good one. Sure.
Anything else? Agent?
Yeah, just security, like if the need for security, it's under number 7 on page 2. The board says we need the need for police protection and traffic control. I would personally like to see its own line item for security, and I just kind of say that all groups would be responsible for security services if additional security is deemed necessary by the superintendent or their designee. So that way it's clear that if we feel a group is using it and we need security because maybe, a large group or we think it might be contentious or something, so it's just called out straight up that they have to pay for security if they're going to use our building. Because then if we go to the regulation, on page 1 of 3, number 3, it says considered necessary for the protection of school property and or traffic safety. There it doesn't say anything about the protection of people, and that's in the regulation side. So I personally think that, given kind of where we are and things that have happened in other districts, calling out security specifically and making it known that we're not paying for it, but we will determine if we need it. I think that just having its own line would be beneficial or could help avoid situations in the future. And then obviously just make the wording in the regulation, tie into that.
Mike? Ian?
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to say that Adrian's comment, I'm full support of that approach. I think that's a great idea. We're going to draw clear lines where, the district is determining whether or not security is needed, but whoever's renting the building or hiring is responsible for bringing them in. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else, Adrian?
No.
Okay. Any other comments, questions?
Actually,
Go ahead.
are we going to talk about the actual fee schedule? Is that part of this?
Mike, do you want to talk about the fee schedule? So, I think Mike got booted off, because he looked like he was frozen.
I guess what I'll just make a mention of it. It looks like this is the same fee schedule we voted on last year. And I guess I would just prefer on the bottom of that page, which is Appendix A, the third page of it, it says revised on January 22nd, 2018. I haven't been on the board all the years, but I know the last couple of years, I believe, we voted on it. So just to have that cleaned up to say, so it doesn't seem like we haven't actually looked at this in 8 years.
Yeah, because this is a new schedule, actually.
Yeah, that's new.
It's a new schedule, but we also approved a schedule last year where this says it was last revised on in 2018. Because I remember last
We
year.
never approved the new schedule.
Yeah, we never approved it last year.
Oh, we didn't?
No,
No.
no.
All right. So we were still like renting out the turf field, and the fees were not increased last year to those higher fees?
Nope.
That is not clear
What they're saying?
what was charged. Not clear.
I couldn't say that
Yeah.
it wasn't correct.
If it wasn't approved, I don't see how they could charge, but we could check on that. But the thing is correct, we didn't approve it last year.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a reason to go back in time and find out who was charged what at this point, unless there was a problem, so.
Yeah.
But I thought we.
Well, it's also a regulation side, so that could be changed without us too.
I think we
Yeah.
came up, but it was like group 1, group 2, do we charge the nonprofits?
All right. Yeah, I mean, I guess we could just ask the administration side if that's accurate, that it was last revised in 18.
Yeah, it's a first reading, so they can check on that. Mike, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I wasn't sure, did Ian have it up before? I lost contact for a little bit.
I do have a follow-up question. I did have a question. I asked it, it was answered, or I said comment, but then I had a follow-up one, if I may.
Go ahead.
So along those lines, I didn't get a chance to dive deep into this. Is there anything in this policy that requires a reporting of what's charged, as far as like a receipt or an invoice that gets filed somewhere, so that, apropos of this conversation, we're not sure what was charged at certain events last year. Is there any documentation required moving forward so that we can verify what was charged to a certain group at a certain day?
Is that in the policy, Mike?
I would say no, and actually that's a great addition, and I think maybe we can run that little part, that particular part through Rita to see what she would want us to have.
Great, thank you.
And then, is it okay if I ask my question now, or maybe?
No, go ahead. I called on you before, but you froze, and then I went to Ian, and then you came back again. That's why I called on you again first. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm happy to be back. So, I'm fully supportive of the first reading. I will say that the policy committee, and I think maybe as a whole board, when it's still in the finance committee, we wanted sort of to know what impact this would have on the particular organizations that are here every year. And so when it goes back to policy, as well as looking at these changes, the school system hasn't given us that workup yet, just because of working on other things. But before, as a policy committee chair, before this comes back to the board, I'd like to, I want us to know for real what the impact of the new fee structure does on the people, on the organizations that, or at least a sample of the organizations that used the facilities last year.
Mitch, you have your hand up? Thank you, Mike.
I'm going to withdraw
You withdraw.
your question.
Okay. Adrian?
I just have a quick one for Mike. Under number 15 in the regulation, what's a donkey ball game? remember reading this a few months ago. It does not need to be called out.
I did right now.
It sounds like it's something from the 50s, but I don't know if that needs to be in there. If we could just make that simpler or take that reference out, whatever it means.
We'll ask, and I'm sure there's a good story.
I think I know.
Go ahead, Dr. A.
And yes, my term is from the 50s. It's a cool thing, and I didn't even think that it still existed, but they used donkeys in a basketball game. And what the donkey is, I can remember being at one. What the donkey is there for is beyond me, but there are several donkeys that are in the basketball game. And to me, it's something that should never happen. That's what it is. That's what it is.
Well, thank you for that history lesson there. Thank you, Dr. A.
Don't you tell anybody that I said I knew.
This is being recorded.
Mitch and Ian.
I knew too what it was. And I can go with being more descriptive about it, but I think you got the point across, Andrea.
Okay, Ian.
Yeah, this sounds like rather asinine ideas.
Okay, so all those in favor of approving as a first reading, and Mike, you have all you took notes so you can listen to the recording or whatever, all the suggestions, I'm sure you have all that.
So I have some notes, but I don't have all that, so I'm going to have to watch that when I get in.
Okay. All right, so all those in favor of approving policy P1330, use of school facilities as a first reading, say aye or raise your hand. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, it passes 9-0 to 0. Thank you. And the last policy, I'm pretty sure, is regarding a first reading of policy 1110.1, parent involvement. Mitch, can you read that one for me, please?
Absolutely. The motion is to approve policy P1110.1, parent involvement as a first reading.
Do you have a second? Jen? Thank you, Jen. All right. Ian, you have your hand up still?
Oh, sorry, that's a decision I'm picking it up.
Okay. All right, Mike, you want to take us through this one? Thank you, Mike, for all your hard work being the policy chair. Appreciate it.
Thank you. You're doing a great job.
And the policy committee, too.
Usually when someone says that, they get to go right afterwards from the meetings. Well, I'll stick around. So this is part of our systematic review, and the big parts that you'll see changed are just the wording part on the first paragraph. And actually, notice there's a typo on the first sentence. There's no E in education there, but we'll catch that. And then the last part of it, there was a conclusion section of the policy which didn't really read like our other policies, so we got rid of that. And then there were quite a few legal references in this that were either unnecessary or outmoded, or maybe both. And so it's the legal references is really just really trimmed. So there's no mention of, for instance, no child left behind before. So overall, the policy's shorter, but it's really not changed in its intent. But those other changes that have been made.
Mike, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Okay. Under communication, I think it's the third line down. It says the board will provide support, time, and presentations to school staff and families to implement and sustain effective communication method. Is it the board or the district?
Should say the district.
It should be the district and not the board.
Yeah, we could change that. Actually, we spent a lot of time, as you probably remember, on the wording support time and presentations instead of training and what all that meant. But yeah, we could certainly change that to the district.
And one more question, Mike. The third paragraph down, the district will develop, implement, and conduct regular evaluations of family involvement programs in each school. How are we doing that?
Which part was that in?
It's the third paragraph down. And it says the district will develop, implement, and conduct regular evaluations of family enrollment programs in each school. Do you know how we're going to do that, Anne Marie? Are we going to do that through school climate? Oh, man. Is that through the school climate survey or what?
Yeah, probably, I would imagine through school climate, but I can tell you that all of our schools, do a number of family engagement programming throughout the year. So it would just be a matter of, how we want to collect that information. But, this is something that is, happens quite often during the year. If that's something that this board would like a, formal report on, I'm sure that we can put something together. Oftentimes for example, during the communications during the communications committee, we will talk about these types of programs that happen, but we certainly can report that to the larger board if that's something that you're interested in.
Okay. Thank you. Mitch?
I have two questions. One is in the very first paragraph where it says, to this end, the board will establish programs and practices that enhance involvement of all and reflect specific needs of students and their families. What are we talking about there, and are we setting ourselves up for something we can't fulfill?
Well, that's new language, right, Mike? Is that new language from CAVE?
It's just the first paragraph is a rewrite of the old first paragraph, and that phrasing was there before too. But yeah, we can discuss it. This is where a lot of our policies have this introductory paragraph, which is kind of discusses our values sometimes, and instead of the nuts and bolts, and something, but you have to say that very quickly. And I think that's and sometimes you can get into little, maybe not thorny areas, but potentially, someone could read that one statement and think that's the nuts and bolts. Well, I have a specific need, and I'm part of the all. I need this exact thing. So yeah, we should take a look at that sentence and see if it's really even necessary. I think it's trying to communicate that we value the input and the community. But you're right. I can see how reading that would be like someone could, if they wanted to point to that legally. I guess I don't know.
Okay. And maybe you can respond.
I can't speak, with 100% certainty, but in my mind, that just gets to some of the inclusive language that, has been, I would just say, something that has been encouraged in the last probably 5 to 10 years. And so I would imagine that most of the policies that are put out these days, either by CAVE or by Shipman, reflect this type of language. Might not say exactly those words, but talking about being reflective of all families, meeting the needs of all students. It's very typical. I know.
Okay. I'm good with that. Thank you. My other question was down where it says for climate, it says families are welcome in all Groton public schools. I'd like to know which families.
Where is that one?
Down in climate, it's the fourth bullet. When we say families, do we mean student families? Do we mean families that live in the town of Groton? Do we want,
You want to be more specific.
Yeah.
families of students in Groton Public School.
Yeah, we can see if we can tighten that up a bit. It appears earlier too. But yeah, the intent is families of students.
Okay.
And Mike, what, you done, Mitch?
Yeah, I'm all set. Thank you very much, Mike.
Mike, what about the first sentence? That threw me. Because the title is parent involvement, but the first sentence talks about equal access to quality education, which really doesn't go along with parent involvement. So that's just my...
Yeah.
That threw me. I'm like, this is a parent involvement, so why are we talking about should provide students with equal access to quality education?
Yeah, I always think of these as sort of the preambles. It starts big, then hones in on exactly what it's going to talk about. But
I mean, the second sentence could be the preamble. Yeah, take a look at that, if you don't mind. Ian, you have your hand up?
Yes, thank you. Along those lines, Mike, I know this has been mentioned before, as you just talked about the preambles and all that. In other revisions, I remember going through the process of striking out a lot of the old preamble language and using just the policy phrase specific to the policy to imply whatever lofty mission statement may be discussed in the preamble, I think is better addressed inside the body text of the policy, just in the nuts and bolts of how things is supposed to work. Similar to how, some people say, oh, you show me your priorities, show me your budget, and I'll show you your priorities. I think when it comes to policy, if we want to show the intent, we show it in the policy itself, how it's written. We don't need a preamble if the policy is written. Thank you.
so know we the people. Yeah.
Okay, we're ready for a vote to approve policy P1110.1, parent involvement as a first reading. All those in favor of approving this policy as a first reading, if you're online, raise your hand. If you're in person, raise your hand too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Are you in favor? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mike, and the policy committee. Thank you very much. All right, coming to the end of the agenda. Letters, communication, and comments by board members on meeting items and other items in their jurisdiction. Anybody haven't shown? You have anything?
No, we addressed what I thought you had earlier.
Okay. Jane?
I'm all set.
Okay. Adrian?
Yeah, I've got something. So at the June 10, 2026 special meeting of the Board of Ed, I served as acting chairperson of the board chair's absence. Initially, I stated we would vote on reducing full positions before half positions. However, after 2 board members voiced concerns regarding meeting efficiency and timeliness, I modified the approach as the meeting progressed. Specifically, during the vote on building substitutes, a member recommended bundling 2 positions as 1 vote. I accommodated this, the vote failed, and without a motion to reconsider, we moved forward. On the next vote, concerning the first of 4 tutor positions, eliminating a full tutor position failed 3 to 5, while the vote to reduce it by half passed 7 to 1. The subsequent 3 votes on the building substitutes. So for the subsequent 3 votes on building substitutes, based on the outcome of that first tutor vote and the interest in running an efficient meeting, I opted to present the half reduction vote first rather than starting with the full reduction. Those votes all passed 6 to 2 and 7 to 1. Later in the meeting, a board member publicly admonished me, accusing me of modifying the vote to sway the outcome based on personal goals rather than serving the will of the board. Specifically, the member stated, and I quote, "When we are running the meeting and we are trying to vote, we need to do it as neutral as possible and try not to sway the vote." In the interest in keeping a consequential meeting focused on managing budget cuts imposed by other town bodies, I chose not to address that assumption at the time. However, I want to state clearly now that I was not swaying the voting process to achieve any predetermined outcome. The modifications were made in response to board concerns about efficiency, applied consistently across the similar position cuts, and followed a clear expression of support from the board for half FTE reductions. Publicly admonishing and acting chair is unprofessional and damages the credibility of the board, particularly when such accusations rely entirely on a single member's personal assumptions about intent. While members may hold differing perspectives, making public assertions about another member's motives, especially during critical votes with direct financial implications for our schools and students, is counterproductive. As a well-educated and advised body representing Groton's residents, public accusations regarding the integrity of our budget reduction votes are both personally upsetting and damaging to our collective goals. So I was going to read that last month at the meeting, but it didn't happen. And then my second thing I was going to bring up was the board members didn't seem to receive an email, and I would just like to request that board members look back at their June 23rd emails, because I did receive that email, and everyone, including the superintendent, was on the list. So I know we've had some problems with email filtering from things outside the district, so I just request that the board members check their emails to see maybe it was missed, or if there's some filtering going on. We certainly don't want that. So, thank you.
What do you mean filtering, John? What are you talking about?
Well, sometimes in the past, we've had personal emails from outside the district that got caught in the spam filter. Well, I won't say it's necessarily spam filtering, but the Barracuda network filtering. And since multiple board members said they didn't remember seeing that email, I'm just requesting that board members look back and see if those emails are in there.
Mitch, you have anything?
Nope.
Okay. Mike, you have anything? Excuse me?
Excuse me, can you ask Mr. Johnson
Yes.
to forward what he read so that I can attach it to the letters and communications in his behalf?
All right, sure, I can do that.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Mike, do you have anything?
Yeah, actually, just about the communications, I did get the letter from RCC Play and read it at that time. But I request, I think it's been requested before, that if the superintendent is responding, or for instance the board chair responds, that just to send a standard email to the board that we are looking into this, we are in contact with the family or the parent or whatever, because I often wonder, should I email them independently, or I assume sometimes that it's being dealt with. I don't personally need the blow by blow of what the response is going to be in every situation, but you do want to know, within a day or two that this person is being answered in some way, because my feeling is when someone's emailing the board, usually, oftentimes they feel they have not been heard, and it's even worse when we don't respond to them. So.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. That's a good request. Ian?
Yeah, actually, thank Mike for bringing that up. That was what I wanted to speak about as well.
Okay.
And yeah, I think maybe, I don't think we should have to bring it to a policy. I think it should just be a matter of good practice. But if it doesn't become good practice, then I think maybe it would warrant a referral to policy as far as making it a standard that is expected, that there is some sort of acknowledgement sent out by the administration, paid professionals that are hired to handle interfacing with the public. Because in the past, the board members have taken the initiative to respond, even if it's just an acknowledgement, and that has caused some static for those board members. So I hate to think of public people, sending in these messages and feeling like it's going to an echo chamber. So I definitely am in support of that becoming a standard practice, and if that fails, then making it a matter of policy, that it's expected that the board will be informed of the appropriate administrator's response to a public complaint or a public message that came into the board's email.
Okay, thank you. Dr. A?
Yes, I agree with Mike, and I also want to say that I have had trouble in the past receiving emails for whatever reason, but I don't, there were a lot of emails from you, particularly Beverly, that I did not receive. I don't know what the problem was, but anyway, that's a legitimate concern, and I think it's being addressed. However, the other thing I wanted to say is that I think it's very wise for either the superintendent or the chair, and I would say the superintendent, to respond instead of all of us, because we would all have different perspectives on whatever the concern was. And I think that would be a troublesome spot to be in. So I think that an acknowledgement from the superintendent would be the way to go.
And I would make sure when I respond that I'll send you guys a note that I responded to so-and-so's email from now on. I don't usually do that, but I will start doing that. And I'll talk to Susan about doing it also. I just want to recognize myself and Dr. Andrea Ackerman. On Friday, we were awarded the Paul Harris Award from the Groton Rotary. It's the highest award that they give, and Dr. Ackerman and myself were awarded received that award on Friday night. So kudos to both of us. Our service, because the Groton Rotary, they believe in service above self. And so that's why we received that award for the service that we do in the community. And Cindy Olson from the 555, she also was one of the recipients of the Paul Harris Award. So I just want to mention that. I don't usually shoot my own horn, but because Dr. Ackerman received it too, I got to acknowledge Dr. Ackerman, so I acknowledge myself.
Well, thank you for doing that. I had real concerns about saying anything at all, but I finally decided in the end to say that we received the Paul Harris Fellow Award, only because it's so important to the Groton Rotary and to the people who receive it, of course, but to not to have said anything would have been to ignore that wonderful gesture and also the individual who nominated us. And I'm not going to name that individual, but if I did, everybody would know that person. And I want to thank the Groton Rotary and that individual for doing that. It's a wonderful honor, and I'm so glad you did that because I wanted to recognize the Rotary. Thank you.
You're welcome. And ditto to everything you said, Andrea. Okay, so we have the future meeting dates. This one note on August 5th. Yeah. Jay?
Yeah, I just had a comment, if I may.
Go ahead.
So, first of all, congratulations to you and Andrea. Certainly there's not been any harder working chair than yourself over the years. For those of us who, complain that these meetings go on and on and on, your work goes on and on and on, well beyond that. So thank you for everything you do, all the meetings that you do and everything you do behind the scenes to make this board a success. And I just want to also go back. I was remiss when Ernie was on the line and not at his department in serving our students with the food service department. And speaking of food service, my only concern is that we are very fortunate that the federal government is paying for most of our students. But it's kind of incomprehensible that our military school, Charles Barnum, due to a quirk in the system that does not take into account that they are not eligible for Husky, means that they're not eligible to be in what is called a community eligibility program, but is actually a school-by-school eligibility program. So that's, where I find it difficult to explain to parents why other schools are all getting paid, but our military school doesn't. So that's all. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jerry. So I just want the negotiations committee to take note that the August 5th meeting is canceled. I tried to get in touch with you, Mitch. You had to tell me how to get in touch with you. Because I sent email and I sent calls on the phone, so we'll talk about that later. Okay? And I'll talk to you about negotiations too. And so Finance and Facilities meets August 4th. I do have a couple of things that I need your approval on moving forward, and these have to do with referrals. So we have a referral to Finance and Facilities to explore, this comes from Mike, to explore the strategies to economize fuel usage in buildings and buses. Are you in favor of moving that forward, Sean?
Yes.
Jen?
Yeah.
Did you hear what I said?
Yeah.
Okay. Adrian?
Yes.
Mitch?
Yes.
Okay. Mike is in favor because that's his referral. Dr. Ackerman, are you in favor of moving forward to explore strategies to economize fuel usage in buildings and buses?
Yes.
Okay. Jay?
Yes.
Ian?
Yep.
Okay, so that one is forward. Thank you. The other one is from Adrian, other metrics to measure student success, and that would go to curriculum. Are you in favor of moving that forward, Sean?
Yes.
Jen? Mitch?
Yes.
Okay. Mike?
Yes.
Okay. Ian?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Andrea?
Put my hand up.
Okay. The other one that Adrian referred is attendance policy revision. He wants to take a deeper dive into the attendance policy.
Yeah, basically put some teeth into the attendance policy because right now you could miss half of the days of school and still move on to the next grade. So and that's just an example, but I think the teachers have been asking for some teeth in the attendance policy because they can be more successful if students can are in school.
All right, you want to move that forward,
Yes.
Sean?
Yes.
Jen? I'm skipping you again, that's your referral. Mitch?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Ian?
Yes.
Andrea?
Yes.
Okay. The next one is, this comes from Adrian too, and he might be able to word it better than I'm going to word it. It has to do with credit card. People use their credit card, it automatically takes the money out every month.
Oh, yeah, I was thinking of talking about this before, but this might just, I don't, we'd have to talk to Ernie if this could even be in the policy, but maybe a discussion with Ernie about making it more of just a school priority rather than just a food services priority, but right when school starts to try to get parents to set up automatic payment accounts.
And we'll talk to Rita first, though.
Yeah.
Okay, payment accounts. Okay, and that will go to finance. Okay. Are you in favor, Sean?
Yeah, as long as we talk to Rita and everyone first, yeah.
Jen?
Yeah, I think Rita said she was going to work with Clint to get finance and facilities. I think she said that. She was going to look into it.
Mitch?
I'm in favor.
Mike?
Yes, but I also think that the district itself should put out a lot more messaging before finance and facilities gets to it.
Okay. Ian?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Andrea? Okay. And the last next one has to do with world language. So the world language grant ends this year, the end of 2027. So we have to start planning what are we going to do with world language in the elementary school. So I wanted the curriculum committee to take a look at that, okay? If we're going to proceed, or if that's going to be the end of world language in elementary school. And what did you touch base with Anne Marie? I asked you to touch base with her
No,
with your
there's no
questions.
curriculum meeting next month, so I didn't see it
Okay.
as a priority. So if curriculum's meeting in September, it seems like it might just get forgotten at this point. But yeah, maybe we can just mix that into the...
No, it wouldn't have gotten forgotten. We would put it on a referral list, some say that. Go ahead.
Maybe we can just mix that in, because there was a referral from the board to the curriculum committee to just talk about foreign language in general.
Okay.
That's right.
And then we could talk about, maybe you all can talk about, this is Adrian's thing too, with the ASL, if we need another ASL teacher, because if the demand's there for ASL, then we need to know about that so we can put in the budget, the board's budget.
Mr. Schubrat and I have already discussed it and have a plan for putting it on one of our agendas, so it hasn't been forgotten.
All right. So I'll just go around. You must be in favor. You put it on the agenda already. Jen?
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay. Sean?
Yeah.
Mike?
Yes.
Okay. Ian?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Andrea?
Yes.
And I didn't forget anything. Okay, so those four things, I'll ask Joyce to put on a referral sheet and under the right committee, and that's it. Any suggested agenda items? Remember, if you ever have any suggested agenda items for Cal or just for the board meeting, then you just email me, let me know, and see what we can do. Okay, anything else? All right, Andrea.
One more thing.
One more thing. Go ahead.
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Mitch? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 9 o'clock, we're adjourned. Thank you.